Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. In this tutorial we'll start going to Grandjs and using it. Firstly, to use Grandjs you have to define its configuration, so you can use Grandjs documentation as a reference for you. And we have actually installed Grandjs. Then we will import Grandjs from Grandjs package, so we can use TypeScript version, so we can import the things we need from Grandjs. So go to VS Code and in this directory and in index.ts inside source directory, which is this is file is the main file that will be run when we run nodejs. So we can say import and open the brackets and say what we want from Grandjs. So we have some suggestions here, I think. So we can say server, and actually server is one of the main important and core things inside Grandjs. So this server helps you to define your server configuration and server options. And to do that you can say server.setConfig, and actually setConfig is a function that takes one object as a parameter, and actually this object takes some information and some configuration for your Grandjs application. For example, you can define your port as 3000, and actually the default port in Grandjs is 3000. So we can go to the documentation and see what else. So in setConfig we have port, which can be process.int port or 3000 or any port you want. And actually you can pass here the HTTP module that you want to use. So you can, for example, pass HTTPS or HTTP2 and so on. And you can define here your static folder, and actually this static folder for defining your assets. So you can add assets to this directory, and actually your files, your CSS files, your JavaScript files, your images will be read from here. And also for using Cypher module, you can pass here the encryption key, which is the main key that Grandjs uses to encrypt your data. And you can you have an important property here, which is native parser, which is boolean value true or false. And actually this native parser indicates that you want to use the native Grandjs parsing for request and body request and files, or you don't want to use its native parser. So if it's true, you can now implement or read files, upload files to your server without need to any external library. However, if you want to use, for example, express file uploads, you can specify here false. Then you'll need to use body parser and also use express file upload to parse your body request. And here you can define the global error page that will be run if your request route will not match anything, and also no error page is defined in the router class. And you can here define some configurations for cores. And so let's we just need to implement native parsing and actually set this to true to use the native Grandjs parser, and we don't need anything else, just error page. So we can define here the error page, as you can see, and actually this error page is a callback which takes request and response, and this is actually a normal callback. And you can define response dot status, and actually this status can be 400 and end with error page. Nice. From Grandjs you can also implement HTTP status codes, and actually this is an enum you can use to render HTTP status code, and also you can use yes, HTTP status code. So you can say, for example, HTTP status code dot bad request or not found. So we can say not found, which is 404, and just this. Then we can say initialize, or we can initialize our server. So we can here initialize our server. As you can see here, we can say server.init server, and actually this method initialize our server based on the defined configuration. And actually this method takes a callback, and this callback called after the server is initialized. So we can say console.log, and we can say here server is initialized, and we can here run our project. So we can go to terminal and say actually the project is running, so we can stop it and say npm run dev. So the server is initialized, so we can open the browser and go to localhost 3000. We can say we can see here that we have an error page, and if we open the terminal we can see that in network we can see that localhost respond with 404, which means not found page. So we can change our message here, so we can say not found page, and save it and reload. We can see not found page. So here is the definition of our file. So we can define our or set configuration for our server in Grandjs as we defined here, and then initialize our server, and we can define the global error page that will be rendered if no error page is defined for each route. And that's it. And in the next tutorial we will discuss how to implement routing system in Grandjs. So let's see you guys in the next video. Thank you.